Thanks for watching the first part, and today we are here with part 2 of the video series on how to create a Gantt chart in Excel. In the first part, we created basic Gantt chart, and in this video, we'll add some important features to it. So stay tuned till the end. Without taking any more time, let's start the video. Hi guys, welcome back to Tech Reflections. I'm Vikram, and today we will enhance the Gantt chart that we created in part 1. If you haven't watched that, then I strongly recommend you to check out the part 1 by clicking on the I button at the top right of this video. Link for the same will also be provided in the description. In this video, we will add features like task dependency, task allocation to team members, and also will make our chart dynamic. We will also take care of weekends as well in our plan. At the end, I'll include a bonus tip to make our Gantt chart more comprehensible. So keep watching it till end. Now let's begin enriching our Gantt chart. So this is the Gantt chart we created in our part 1. So the first addition we are doing here is we will just add a field for project start date. For that, let me just add insert two rows here. Okay, and then we will add this project start date here. Let me merge these two cells and keep it left aligned. And then the next two cells I'll just merge, which will contain the value of the project start date. So as of now, I just add this as our project start date. Currently, this cell is not formatted in the date format, so that's the reason you're getting a number. So we'll go and change this. We'll go to format cells, change it to date, and let's say if we want to show the date in this format. So the date is now visible. We have 1st September as our project start date. So as a next step, I'll just align my timeline on this start date. So what I'll do, I'll refer this particular cell for our first date in the timeline. And every next date would be adding one date to the previous one. So this would become F5 plus 1. So that becomes a 2nd September, and the rest of the dates we can just drag and do the flash fill, and accordingly all the dates will be updated. So right now you are not seeing any change because the 1st of September was earlier also our start date, but let me try changing this to, let's say, 1st of October. So in that case, you see our timeline has shifted from 1st of September to 1st of October, and it is quite visible here. And in our Gantt chart also, we have moved towards the right. It's a very common scenario for project management that the project start date usually shifts towards the right. So in our plan, we just need to change it in this cell and our timeline automatically gets shifted. So this was the first change. Now let's start with another change where we would be looking at the task dependencies. So what do we mean by task dependency is like all these tasks which right now have a fixed start date and a duration, and on the basis of that we have come up with end date. So now if we want, we can have this all these tasks depends upon the project start date, because then in that case if there is a change in the project start date, these dates can also change on their own. Let me quickly do it for all these tasks. Let's say this particular task, the first task, task 1.1, starts one day after the start date. So rather than putting a date here, I'll just refer this cell as a project start date and add 1 to it. So this task is now starting from 2nd of October. Let me make the same change for this one. So we will just refer this, and let's say this one starts 2 days after the start date. Okay, so that way uh, let me update all these tasks with a dependency on the start date, or we can even have a dependency on any other date also. Let's take an example for this task 2.1. Let's say we want this task to start after the task 1.1 has finished. So we can just refer this date, which is the end date for the task 1.1, and maybe just add 1 day to it. So this task 2.1 will always start 1 day after the end of task 1.1. Same way for 2.2. Let us see if we can refer to task 1.2, and let me add maybe 2 days to that. So this task also have a start date depending on 1.2 now. Task 2.3, let me make it dependent on this task, and 1 day after completing the task 2.1. And for task 3.1, let us make it dependent on the task 2.2 start date. It will start, let's say, 4 days after the task 2.2 has started. So we can do it for all the tasks. Let me quickly do it for all the tasks, and then I'll come back again. Okay, so we have updated all the tasks. Now whole of our plan is having a task dependency. So whenever we will change our date, the project start date, the timeline, this part. So this timeline which you see will also get updated. Plus, we will change the start date and end date of these tasks also. So let us try it once. Let me move this to, let's say, again back to 1st of September, or maybe 5th of September, let's say. See all the tasks, because they are dependent on each other or on the start date. So whenever we update the start date, the timeline plus the start and end date of these tasks gets updated. Also on the Gantt chart, the corresponding effect on the Gantt chart is also easily visible here. Okay, as in next change, what we can do, just to do some formatting. So all the subtasks we can, let's say, indent towards right, so that it is visible that these are the subtasks, although they are not in bold. So from there also we can see that these are subtasks, but visibly it will be more appealing that we indent them towards right. So I select all the subtasks, and in just one click, all of them gets indented towards right. Okay, so we have added some key features to our Gantt chart, but yet to come in this video is how do we consider weekends in our plan. If you're finding this video useful, then like the video and share it with your friends. Also subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you'll get notified when the next video of this series will be published. Now, moving to the next feature. Now we will add task allocation. So these tasks, task 1.1 to 4.2 needs to be assigned to the team members. And for that, let's say we have a list of team members here. We have 3 members, team member 1, 2, and 3. So the task on this sheet needs to be assigned to these 3 team members. So for that, first of all, I'll just insert a column. Insert a column, and this is for allocated 2. Just extend it a bit, and at the top cell for the value, let me just make some adjustments to it. Okay. Now, these tasks needs to be assigned to those team members. So one way is that we can directly go and type their name here, but that there can be a problem in that, because at the time of typing there can be a typo, uh, which will which can be avoided by data validation. How? Let's see that. So for data validation, we'll just go to the first task which needs to be allocated and go to the data tab. Here under data validations, we have a validation criteria. Under allow, we'll just select list. So it asks for the source for that list. So just click on this arrow, go to the next sheet, select these team members, and then go back here and we'll click on OK. So you can see there is a drop down visible for task 1.1. So if you click on that drop down, you'll get all the team members which were there in our team. Their names are appearing here, so we can go and select. So that way there will be no issue of a typo. So now we can drag this drop down for all the tasks. But before that, let me just remove this. And now we can drag. And now this drop down is available for all the tasks. We can just go to the task and select the team member who we want this task to be allocated to. So this way we can allocate all these tasks to the appropriate team member who is going to be working on these tasks. Okay, and there's one more thing, like if we want to add one more team member to our team, so we can just go here. One thing we need to be careful about, because if we add here in the row 6, that will not be taken up in the data validation drop down. So what I'll do, I'll just insert a row here just above the last value we have, and now we just add these. So now we have this fourth member. We'll just come back here and see if that fourth member is available. Yeah, so we have this fourth member here. So we can just allocate the task to the fourth member also. So it's that easy. So we can assign the task which we want this fourth member to do. Okay, so this way we can add the teams to this plan, and we can allocate the task to those team members. Next in our plan, as of now, the weekday or weekends are not visible. So we can just add one more row here, where we can show the weekday of that particular day. So let's see how that is done. For day, we just need to use the formula text, and we just provide the date as the argument and the format in which we want the result. So we want the weekday. So we'll provide this as the format. It will show the first 3 letters of the weekday. So in that case, it is a Saturday. So SAT is shown, but we just want the first letter. So we can just apply another formula to it. That would be left. And we want just one character. Left formula actually extracts the numbers of letters specified from a string. So in this case, the string is SAT. When we want 1, so the first letter from the string SAT would be picked. Okay, so we can just drag it for our timeline. So the days are updated for all. We can just center it. Now let's say if we want to highlight the weekdays separately in our this timeline, because as the next feature we would be doing is that we would be considering weekends in our start date and end date also. So it would be good if we can show the Saturdays and Sundays separately in our timeline. So how can we do that? We'll just select this full area. We go to Home, Conditional Formatting, and New Rule. We'll just type the formula. For formula, we need to first see how can we identify the Saturdays and Sundays. So there is a formula for that, weekdays. And if the weekdays value is 0 or 7, then it would be a weekend. So rather than writing it straight away in the conditional formatting, let's first try it out on our Excel. So let's go back here. And let's say we try it here, equal to weekday, and this is the date we are talking about. And let's see what it returns. Okay, so it returns a value as 7, so that means it's on weekend. So what we are trying to do here is that we want 0 or 7, because if I drag it, 1 or 7. So 1 is for Sunday and 7 is for Saturday. So we want to capture both these values. So what will we do? We'll just say or here. The weekday is equal to 1, or weekday of this same date is equal to 7. And let's see how. So it's returning a true. So that means our formula is correct. So both are true. This is a weekend. So we can just now copy this formula from here and press escape to come out of the edit mode. Select whole of this area, timeline, and go to conditional formatting, new rule. We select the formula and we just paste that formula here. But let me, before making any changes, just we want, because this we have done it for only the first cell, and we want this to apply to whole of the timeline. So we'll just see how we can fix here our row, because column will keep on changing. So we'll just press F4 once, one more time, and now the row is fixed and column is free. Same we will be doing for this part also. Okay, and let me now set the format. Let's say if we just want this color to be shown, just click OK. So this weekends are now visible to us in our timeline. So the next thing that we need to add here is we need to take care of weekends on our start date and end date. So we don't want any task to start on a weekend or end on a weekend. So in that case, if any task is like that, then we need to add a day to it. So how can we do that? We'll just come to the first date here, and in this date we'll just use the formula workday. Workday function would be returning a nearest working day to the date that we provide as an argument. Plus, it also takes an offset value where we can provide if we want to move ahead that date by some days, or we can move behind that date. So in this case, because we anyway are adding one day to the project start date, so in that case, workday function, we can use workday here. And in the date, we will provide D2. And in the second argument, we'll just provide 1 here and press enter. So if you can see, the start date was 5th of September, but that was a Saturday. So for us, the start date should actually be moving to Monday, because Monday would be the first working day after the project start date. So this function has moved our date to 7th of September, which is correct. And now our task has also moved to 7th, and the Gantt chart is accordingly updated. So that we can do for the rest of the dates also. Let me quickly do that. This is for the end date, because this end date is the start date plus the duration. And for all the end dates, the formula is same. So we can use the workday here, workday, and the date here would be the C8. That would be the start date for task 1.1. And we want to add, we can just remove the plus here. And we want to add number of days in duration -1. So we can use that as our offset, and we can press enter. So right now this task is finishing on 18th, that's a Friday. So which is good, and we don't need to move it. So for the end date, it will remain the same. So we can directly copy this formula for all the end dates. So all the end dates are updated. Let me do it for the start dates also. So that's the way we have updated for all the start dates. And now all the start dates and the end dates, whichever were falling on a weekend, now we have moved those to the next working day. So looking at our Gantt chart, you must also be feeling that the weekend color that we have used for our conditional formatting is actually overlapping with our Gantt chart color for the task, for the planned and actual. So how to get rid of that? We can go back, we can select the whole of the timeline, go back to home, click on conditional formatting, and then manage rules. So here you can see there is a list of all the conditional formatting rules that we are using. So at the top of it, you can see there is it is mentioned rule applied in the order shown. So currently, because we did the weekday rule at the last, so it is right now at the top. So if we want that to get suppressed and we want this task to be at the top, then we can, lower down its priority. So we can just use this button to go down, bring it down. And now this is the last one. And if we click on apply and click OK, so you can see now our tasks are visible over the weekends. Okay, so just for formatting, we can remove these two also, and then resize these columns. Okay. Okay, so this is the time for the bonus tip now. So the bonus tip here is because as you must be seeing that when we are moving towards the right, so we are losing the track of what is there on the left where we have the task details, the start date and end date. So how to resolve that? So for that, what we can do, we can freeze the panes. We can freeze this part. So by freeze, I mean that whenever you scroll to the right, this part, the column A to F, always remain on the screen. And also, when we will be extending this plan, we will be going down, adding more tasks. So we don't want even this, the top part, this also to, get scrolled up or down. So we want that also to be fixed. So how to do that? Now we want to fix the header part and the left part of our Gantt chart where all the information is there. So for that, you can just select the cell which is just next to the row and the column which we want to fix. So in this case, we want to fix a row from row 1 to row 6, and we want to fix column A to F. So we'll just go to just the next cell, that is G6. So at G6, anything left of G6 will be uh, frozen, and anything above G6 would be frozen. So click on that, go to view, and there is an option called freeze panes. Click on that, and then click on the option freeze panes. So you can see there is a line to show that these panes are freezed. So you can try moving to scrolling towards the right and see the left part is not going out of the screen, and that we can try for our headers also. We can just scroll down and our headers are still on the screen. So this was the bonus tip. This is very useful when you are using this Gantt chart, because sometimes the project plan traverse within months. So it will be really helpful that you want the view of your task and the start date, end date, allocated, and percentage complete always on your screen. Okay, so one of the scenario we considered in our Gantt chart is that if the start date moves, that we have taken care of by putting the project start date at the top, and all the timelines and all of our tasks are now dependent on that. So whenever we change the start date, all our timelines and all the tasks get automatically updated. But there are more such scenarios. We we must be coming across all every day in our project planning. So now I want to understand from you, how many of you are facing any such scenarios which you want to incorporate in our Gantt chart. So kindly put that in the comments and we'll see how many of them we can incorporate. Looking forward to your comments. So this is what we planned for this part. Stay tuned for this next part. Apart from the Gantt chart, if you are interested in learning more about Excel tools and functions, then link for those videos will also be there on your screen now. Check out those videos and share your feedback. I'll see you all in the next video. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy.